When I was in depression, it gave me a chance to think about why I was feeling so sad. And it gave me a chance to look at the choices I've been making. And then it also gave me the chance to look at why I was making them and who I was making them for. And I had recognized, looking back, that I was living this life that was not for me, but it was based on everyone else's dysfunctional belief systems that was safe for them, but also had kept them stuck. And so I realized I'd grown up in this environment, not only in my home, but honestly looking around in society, I see it everywhere. And I'm sure it's my echo chamber, so I think there are other people that are living a beautiful life. And aside from the struggle that I've experienced, I think it's possible to create something more fulfilling and safe and secure. And so it was interesting because I've never witnessed this outside of myself, but I felt like because I had seen things in life, I'm like, I had to believe it was out there. And so without having an example of it by those surrounded around me, it motivated me because I had my own kids, and I realized like I was spilling on them the pain of my past, even unintentionally. So like, while I had an emotionally disruptive father that was a ticking time bomb, and other family members that were similar to that, I realized my emotional unhingedness was also happening because I was keeping myself connected to all the wrong people for all the wrong reasons. And I was also choosing jobs and workplaces and ways to earn money for the wrong reasons. And it was just, I was giving way too much and receiving far too little. And then I was wondering, like, what am I doing in life? And it just got to the point where I'd been so focused on trying to get a partner, and I was like obsessed about that person, like how I could become more lovable for him to find me valuable. And there was a time that it finally got to the point where he kept picking everybody but me. And I finally realized this man was never going to change. He had never chosen me. Well, we had a commitment. It didn't last very long because as long as I started sticking up for myself and advocating for myself, like, he got further and further away. And so I started to realize I had to get more comfortable speaking up and speaking into my truth and recognizing when I was holding it in. And so there were times in workplaces where I recognized, I'm like, I really want to speak on this right now because I think this is really wrong. And when I started to do that, I really got pushed out of the herd and onto my own. And while I was already headed in that direction by myself, I was fast tracked into it. So like, the more I spoke on what I was seeing and how dysfunctional it was in workplaces and how inappropriate it was with men and the way they were treating me, I found myself to be less and less around other people. And when I was in that space, it really gave me a chance to not only clear up a lot of misbeliefs that I had been raised in and that I was living, it also gave me a chance to recognize some of my blind spots, and because I could see it in other people, and then I learned to mirror how I was living that in my life too, just for different intentions, right? There are times where I was connecting with insecure people because I was insecure. And so I'm like, okay, if they're insecure and I'm staying with this person, I'm staying with them because I don't feel like there's better out there. So not only did I have to look at my spiritual beliefs, and I also had to understand like where I was being way too loyal to the wrong person who was literally never showing up to me, like, for me. Part of this process really fast tracked me too, because at some point I had to pull myself back to my finances and my life because it was literally falling apart and I could no longer focus on that person. And once I look back in my world, I was like, wow, it's a mess over here. And so I had to start cleaning that up. And it was in that time when I was having to clean up my own mess because I was so focused on everybody else and helping them. And this is even family members, not just relationships, but this is workplaces and family and you know, potential partners. And I recognized, like, as I had to clean up my own mess, I was getting more and more pissed off because I'm like, you know what? When I was out there helping everybody else and now it's my turn to clean up my mess, nobody was around. Nobody wanted to help me. The only reason why I would ever get help in my life was because it was like a permission. Like, if I got help from them, it was like at the expense of me having to tolerate their abusive behavior. So what did that look like? It meant I would have to sit on the phone with these people and listen to them bitch and rant. And sometimes they would target me when they were drunk and like start all of a sudden out of nowhere turn their anger on me. And it was times where I would try to like negotiate a fair, you know, experience and they would just get so pissed off, and I would notice they would get really loud and or really mean in order to discourage me from trying that again. And so I recognize I experienced this in life too when I was a child from my parents. And so that's part of the thing, is like when I started recognizing this in my family, I couldn't keep going back, because I kept making excuses for these people. And the more excuses I made for them, the more excuses I made for myself to not become more independent. And so I just got to the point where I started recognizing this, and now I gave myself no room to make excuses, and I started running to the triggers. I started running to the challenges, because I knew in those challenges, in that discomfort, there was growth. And so while I'm currently experiencing that right now, I know it's going to work out for me, but it is challenging. But I understand it's like where I was staying comfortable, that was not helpful either, and that was uncomfortable, and that was painful. So like this way, I'm running for me, and I'm moving in a direction, in a path that is passionate for me. And while it may look a little bit different than the current environment I'm in, I'm recognizing that I'm going to have everything that I need within a time frame that I need it. Sometimes when I've done this before, it's a little hit and miss. It's super scary, but at the same time, when I get at the other end of it, I grow that confidence to say I can do big things, I can do hard things, and I can do this on my own. And so I start to relieve these people who try to convince me that I needed them, and I walk away from them. And who keeps calling me, and who keeps writing me, and who keeps sending shit to my house? The people of the past. You know where that goes? In the garbage. I no longer open those. I don't need to be curious. These people, I've opened these things before, and it's the same story. It's just the same story, different day with these people. When you think they're going to change and you hope they're going to change, it just leads to humility. And when you learn that, you don't need to open that door to the past anymore. And that's where you close off that emotional pain and walk into the logic. I hope this helps. Take care.